Hi guys, how are you? I hope you're well. I am well myself. I have wanted to pop in here and do and give a word that's very important in this season as you're coming to a new season that the Lord has brought about for you. And I want to just leave this word here. I know it's the weirdest time. It's about 8:15 here. And I know most of my viewers are from Kenya and here, but I just wanted to have it on so you can watch whenever you are ready. So this is good for me because I will not be having time to edit. So that is why I like doing lives, and it's been a while since I did lives. I did the first one after a while yesterday, and I feel blessed. Yeah, today has been just so action packed. Kind of tired, but blessed. So I'm really grateful to God because of what He's doing in this season for me and for you. Um, the thing about seasons is that if you believe and a season changes for you, you will never be able to resist the Lord, right? Because He does beautiful things, He does amazing things. And whenever you believe, I know whenever another a season changes and you're going through the rigors of it, you may even forget how He does things, yeah. And I've seen God to surprise you even when you least expect it. Um, I there's a bar here. I just need to check what's up. Yeah, so I think it's okay. Yeah, so as you have seen, our title today is spared but tested, and that's going for a lot of people. When I tell you the Bible is so right when it says that other people have gone through what you're going through, it is so true, you know. I don't know why I just forgot how exactly it's put. um no temptation has happened to you than is normal to other people. I think something like that, yeah. I actually have my computer here so I can google that. um yeah, it's the time of night where I'm supposed to be checking out of online stuff because at this point nothing is at my fingertips. So welcome guys. I'm just talking about that topic as you've seen, spared but tested. No temptation has overtaken you except, that is First Corinthians 10:13. No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you're tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. Hi, Dan. Yeah, I love that. Just knowing that, nothing is happening to you that is not ordinary, that is not common to mankind, yeah. You are just awakening to the things that were in plan for you. And when that happens, you may even be surrounded by people who, when you tell what you're discovering, they're like, my God, that's that's normal. That's normal, but you are, flipping because you haven't been through that, yeah. And when it's opened up for you, you find that you're entering a season you haven't been in before. So it's really shocking sometimes to someone. Yeah, so today I want to talk about those who have been spared. It seems, yeah, to our human eyes, spared but tested. And when God was giving me this topic, and I didn't want to ignore and just think it's my own thoughts, because after He gave me that topic, man, he went deep, yeah. Just showing me, sort of talking to me, having a conversation about Jacob and Esau. and it was in relation to something I've gone through. Because God in this season is dealing with families, just giving you revelations about families, your family, my family, the things that we've gone through, even as a society. I'm an African. If I'm talking to people who haven't met me, I am an African from East Africa, Kenya. To be precise, the tribe of Gikuyu. We come from somewhere close to Nairobi. It's called the Central Area, and in the past season, God was revealing about the altars that we were fighting, and it was similar altars, but it was also similar with other people's altars. But for this particular tribe, yeah, I was speaking for it because I am it. Yeah, I come from the highly esteemed people of the Agikoyo tribe. And there was a time as a child, because that is when God is showing you a lot of things about yourself, but you think, I'm too young, I'm just a child, what is this? There was a time God, was making me aware of the privilege I have to be these people, right? And I used to have this inner pride of being a Gikoyo, but I grew up in a very cosmopolitan area. And I say cosmopolitan just because we were a lot of mixed people, yeah? We were people from all uh, corners of my country, Kenya. Now, Kenya is comprised of 42 tribes, different tribes, and some, because of living in the city, we would learn each other's languages, or at least the accent. For me, I'm not very good in learning other people's languages, and that would include even, languages like French, French, German, uh whatever else. Yeah, I'm not good at learning languages. I'm good at imitating the accents. Yeah, so I was a bit of a comedian. Anyway, your family, my family, fighting similar kinds of altars, and because of the things that were happening in the last I would say in the last 400 years, because it's been 4 generations. We are the fourth generation, if you're in my generation, and we have up to the sixth generation going, ahead. Yeah, our children, our children's children, and so many others. We are always mixed generations, and that is why you see some people are so far ahead, or some people are just coming up now, like the Gen Zs, and they touch everything they touch is magical. They're changing the world. They're doing great and mighty things that we did not know. They're the answers to some of our prayers, but they still come as a surprise. That is what a surprise you are in your family when you came about and were just doing different things, and your family would be like, oh my God. And the people who are so much like you would be so amazed and wonder, how is this child, young as they are, able to do these things when I feel the same calling? I know what they are talking about. I've had the kind of dreams they are talking about, but I was never able to execute. I will tell you one simple thing. It is generation, okay? Where you are in the generation. And there are things that God allowed you to fight and to just deal with up to where you got, and then your children are supposed to continue with that battle. If you did it well, then you're so happy to see them come about and do that, in their might and strength, things that are God given. If you didn't do your journey well, then you may get in competition with a generation that is now here, about to take on their weapons and go fight. And it's not always fight. Sometimes it's restoration of peace. And if you fought so hard, then you're like, why do these people get to enjoy the peace, the wealth, even because God has chosen some of our children to be wealth carriers. They're the ones who go out, make so much wealth, and bring it, in sort of a way to pay for all the years that was stolen from you. All the years you've kept praying that, God, restore the years that the locusts have eaten. And now God is bringing your children, into that place where they're bringing the restoration, yeah? when it happens in different generations, you may find that a lot of war may erupt in families, and it does happen a lot of times when that child is talking different, talking about things you've never imagined in your family, talking like they're, spoiled. Like, I'm gonna get so wealthy, you guys will be shocked. We have one child in the family who is always talking about building for people, and I cannot deny that I see that happening with that child. They're always like, I'll get into real estate, I'll get into building, and she talks about building for her grandma. I have no doubt that she will do that, yeah. But you have to see it and you have to affirm it. You have to believe it. If you don't believe it and then it starts happening, you'll definitely fight with that child. So this is about two siblings, Jacob and Esau, and we see a child growing, in their mother's skirts, so tight with the mom, maybe cutting vegetables for the mom, growing maybe a kitchen garden even, yeah, because from what it seems, Isaac was so wealthy from his father's spoils that he did not, I mean, maybe he didn't even put his children to labor, right? So this guy was into growing vegetables. He was a farmer. He was and I kind of, feel like he did very well in his farming, but he also had time around the mom, and they were so tight. Yeah, you do see these things in families where one child is so tight with the mom, another is very tight with the dad. There are some others just hanging around, like they just came to escort others. But there's that, proximity to a parent, yeah. But these are just two kids, and they're twins, yeah. One just is very tight with the dad to his dying day, and the other one is so tight with the mom. And it seems like there's a dysfunction in this family. There's a breakdown because how they started was not how they finished. And a lot of times, God is bringing into awareness, especially for me. I know for other women too, because I've seen great women in this in this arena, yeah, speaking and doing great things, yeah, and they seem to recognize that women, when they discover whatever influence they discover in their families, they can use it well or so badly, yeah. And if a woman feels unseen or they struggle too much, whether single or married, they can just employ some behaviors that are not really helpful, and most of these are manipulative. Why? Because the devil is in the detail. You understand? So many, I've seen people who are not, and I've said this before, I hope it doesn't sound, like an insult, but I've seen people who are not smart, but they are very manipulative. It seems like these things are so easy to get into, just being manipulative. When you know someone, you just know how to get into their minds, into their good graces. And when you really look and when you really experience, you realize that there's a spirit behind it. When there's a spirit involved in these things, and especially in our families, we will not know because we are dealing with people. Yeah. So you never think of this person like there's a spirit behind them, what they do, how they think, yeah. You just like, there's a way we live with people and we're like, no, they are like that, yeah. Not knowing that, there's a spirit operating behind whoever allows it to operate, yeah. So you could be living a certain way and then you reach a place where you're like, this is all my life, I'm gonna change this, and you change it because you recognize that there's something that's not working, the way it should, or there's a spirit that you don't like, and you're like, nope, you're gone, so that means you're awakened to what, is happening. Or you catch the thief while it's still early, yeah. A lot of people, though, especially mothers, do not know when they get so controlling. And I've seen that, and I've talked about a time I caught myself being so controlling, not so controlling, I was getting controlling, yeah. And my kids, it's like I felt like they were getting out of hand, yeah, like being so like they were not obeying the things I wanted, and I would see like their dad allowing some things, and I'm like, you're so soft on these kids and it's going to hurt them, yeah. I wasn't checking myself much, and I was employing the methods I saw being used in my in my growing up, because it wasn't our home alone, I could see a lot of women just stepping into a controlling zone where they had really tight reins on their children. We always talk about our generation as not being able to talk back, right? To speak up their minds, to getting their own way. In fact, they didn't bother because they knew mom is so tough, yeah, or dad is so tough, and then we came into this age, at least, where in our generation we were talking or recognizing the good and bad cop. Kids have always known how their home operates, yeah, but just finding the terminology to express and say, this is how, this, my mom or my dad is the good cop, yeah, or bad cop thereof. So we would see that, yeah. But I realized, in this age where the word narcissism came about, yeah, I used to wonder, if you're recognizing your person as a narcissist, can't you just have a discussion, point it out, find a way to deal with each other and just call that out and have it addressed? I used to wonder, how tough is this narcissism, because as far as I can see, or whatever I was experiencing was always something that we could discuss, until I encountered that spirit of narcissism, and oh my God, it is a whole spirit with depth and lots of demons. It's That is the reason why people don't change, And so I came to understand why we say so and so is just like that. You will talk with someone and they never change their mind, and they find they will even draw you in and, want to convince you, like there's a chance, but it's never gonna happen. They're just doing it to have their way, And so I realized that some people don't even know that there's a spirit controlling them, causing them to be a certain way, especially when they have some kind of power. If it's a mom, they have power in their household, yeah. And sometimes it comes out of fear. You're afraid that your kids will go and leave you, that your husband will leave you, that's, so and so will leave you, whoever it is that you're invested in. And it's not even love that causes you to keep them, it's control. And so I never even used to think it's a big deal, even when reading about Jezebel and all that. So anyway, I'm saying all these things to say that sometimes when a woman cannot have her own way, even in a home that you would think is peaceful. So for example, this home where Rebecca has this boy that they're always hanging together and they understand each other. And she's like, there's no way this sweet, sweet boy is not the one that is going to gain blessings, because I know if he gets all these blessings, he's kind of going to, cover me, he's going to be there for me because we get each other, And being a mom that has, like 3 kids, I kind of see how that can happen, because their kids you get so close to, right? Their kids, you seem to understand each other. And so it would be so easy, especially when you feel distanced, when one child maybe is so tighter with the other parent, and you feel like you're not getting your way. It would be so easy to just get in there and mess up, because you're doing things your own way. You're following your own instincts, yeah? This is not powered by the Holy Spirit, especially if you're not seeking him and you're not seeking to have your family together, yeah. And so let's just get into this issue of Jacob and Esau. The fact that a mother could talk to a child about duping another child, stealing their inheritance, is beyond. You see, this was the firstborn, yeah, Esau. And even though it was a prophecy that this would happen, like there's a struggle between your 2 children, like this had been revealed to her by God, that your twins are fighting. There are 2 nations in your womb that are fighting. And maybe it was easy for her to accept, but do you see that she enabled this to happen? Against what we think mothers should do, because you're everybody's mom. If you have 5 kids, they're all yours, and you have like a bond with each, a relationship with each, rather. And so for her to even think that it's okay to cheat Esau out of his blessings that are coming from his father, who they are close to, it was theft. You understand? And so this guy gets the favor. So that is where I'm coming to with all my background. So this guy, Jacob, gets the favor, right? Gets the blessing to a point where even when he's running away from home, God himself is validating that and saying, I will bless you with the same blessings that he spoke over Abraham. God is again speaking to his grandchild, yeah, Jacob, as he's running away from his brother, going to the home of his uncle Laban, right? And so at that point, he's so set on getting this blessing and keeping it, he doesn't think about what happens to Esau. Okay, and so it's so interesting that when the father, was blessing or cursing Esau, because Esau really cried, having found that this blessing was stolen, yeah. He really cried, and the dad says, I cannot say any more apart from cursing you. And he's like, as long as you speak over me, father, I want you to speak, right? And so he ends up cursing him and telling him, you'll be a slave to your brother and all that, yeah. But he puts a caveat and says, when you get tired of that, you will break the yoke off your shoulder, okay? And so that is the thing he has. Whether he held on to it until a time where he could use that, because that was a strong weapon, or whether he just went and decided to start fighting for his life and doing things opposite, because we see where, I think it's chapter 28, when Jacob leaves home, yeah, he hears, about the time Jacob is supposed to leave home, he hears the mom telling the dad, I don't want Jacob to marry in this land. I don't want him to marry a Canaanite. Okay, so I'm going to send him to Laban. So that was the way that, Isaac was going to let Jacob leave home. And Esau hears this and he's like, what my mother doesn't want is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to marry the foreign women, yeah? And so he does that. So whether he came into agreement with these people just to build his own wealth, just like, his uncle Esau did, because by doing that, he came into agreement with other nations. Sometimes the alliances we form are the ones that help us to fight what is fighting us, yeah? And that is why you see a lot of times, especially for, afflicted families, we don't get blessings from home. You grow around so much poverty and you're like, the day I leave, because somehow something is telling you that once you go out there, you'll find blessings, yeah? That's what we do even when we leave the country. You're like, when I go to the city, I'm going to work so hard. You don't even know who you're going to find there. But he was like so set, yeah? Made alliances with other people, okay? But look at this guy that we consider blessed, yeah? And he is paired by God throughout. So first there's that prophecy, because God, nothing catches God by surprise. He already spoke blessings over this boy, yeah, but he doesn't have it easy. And that is what I wanted you to see, because a lot of our families, especially the afflicted families that have been operating under very strong altars, yeah, I said one time our people had to be subdued for other people to come lead us, and our countries are the way they are because of what happened then, yeah. So everybody now, or in the past, yeah, in the past, have been fighting for their own lives and their own families to amass as much wealth as they can for their own families, yeah. So everybody else has been subdued under poverty, and so much has been happening in our families because when there's poverty, people do not operate okay, right? So there's always these agreements. There is parents selling land and being like, just go, sending their children that they love away, just go, and try whatever you can so that we may find a breakthrough, right? That is what we do in a lot of our families. And so, because of the altars that, are operating and speaking over us, There'll be so many legalities that we do not know that will affect us. Yeah. So let's look at the life of this guy who is already blessed, but he's having so many challenges. So first thing, he arrives there. He has an assurance of blessing. And I do believe for some of us coming abroad, that is what we had. Yeah. An assurance of blessing. You're going to a place where if anybody hears, you're going there, they have no other choice than to bless you. They're like, oh my God, go well, be well. So he goes, and the first thing is that he meets a girl, and his life is unfolding. Like, he makes a commitment to serve for 7 years is not a short time in any era. 7 years is not a short time. But once he's done with the 7 years working for this guy, and it couldn't have been easy work, it was work in the field. He's given the wrong girl. So he's stuck with a girl that he doesn't like. And even though this is a blessed woman who is just popping kids left, right, and center, there's a girl that his heart is after. And even when he gets her, and he's even able, much later to get a child with her, when she's getting the second child, the lady he loves dies. And at this point, he has gotten into so many issues, even marrying his, wives, maids. Yeah, they used to come with their maids. So you know the story where Rachel gives him his maid, and Leah is like, you can't do this. I can also do this, right? And so he ends up with 4 wives, and we are hoping that they were a companion when Rachel dies. But this guy was tested to a point where he's leaving Laban's house, and before he meets his brother, because now he's encountering all the things he's ever done, he's encountering his sins, which is something that we go through to a point where you see the way life has tested you. You have to humble, and you're like, did I ever do anything wrong to my brother? How is my brother? And now it reaches, maybe at some point you are able to push that at the back of your mind, but now it reaches a point where he's going back home. He has nowhere else to go. It's over between him and his uncle, and he knows he will meet his brother. And because of his mother's control issues, he messed up with his brother, and now he has to meet face to face with his brother. He has never kept tabs, never checked how his brother is doing, but now they have to meet. And surprise, surprise, the brother kind of did well for himself, yeah, to a point where he does not even need the gifts this bro is bringing. But that night, before he meets his brother, he has a confrontation, and that is what I wanted to talk about. When Jacob met, this angel that he fought with and had his name changed. And I have to say something as somebody who has done the journey, and I know that you guys have done also the journey enough to see or to reach a point where your name was changed. Yeah, like for me, I told you, for me to come to the name Wanyiha was a whole journey, where I was thinking so much about my grandma. I was thinking that I really love my name also. That is something I grew to love. Yeah, but you reach a point where you're actually changing names, and there's a reason for that. Yeah, anyway, when Jacob had this night battle with an angel, to a point where the angel was like, my guy, you have to let me go. You have to let me go. It's daybreak. Yeah, I don't want to be seen by mortals. And he's like, you're not going until you bless me. And one thing you have to realize is that this guy did not have it easy. He was the blessed one. He was the chosen one. He was the one through who the tribe of Israel was going to come through. And yet he didn't have it easy. God spared him from anything he had ever done. If all this time he had been walking, under the blessing, not caring about seeking God, yeah? But there's a time now he was like face to face or just engaged in battle with God. Yeah, let's call him God, because it was him, it was his spirit in this person fighting physically with Jacob. And one thing he was like, I have to go. And Jacob demands a blessing because he understood without God's blessing being spoken over me at this point, my brother will surely kill me. because I stole from him. Yeah, let me tell you, there's a time, because I'm not a firstborn, I used to wonder, like, why am I, experiencing some things, to a point where I feel like I'm the firstborn in the family. Did I do this thing, this Jacob thing, And I had to really chat with God about that, and just realizing, there's so many legalities, you guys, yeah. There are families that, because of how we've been living our lives, and I have to tell you that God let it happen. God has been letting us do whatever. He turned his face away from us at a time, but when now he wants to take us back, there's so many things he reveals. Yeah, it's not a joke when you see that a family has two firstborns, or three, or five, or even 10. A lot of, like, some kids don't even know if they are firstborns, lastborns, middle children, or all that. Yeah, so you don't even know what blessings you're claiming. Well, God is so merciful that he will reveal all these things, and still, because you've seeked him, because you've come to that place, he will bless you anyway with blessings that he will show you, what is coming to you and why and from where when you come to that point, so that you understand what legal battles you've had to fight, yeah, until you bring this battle to the courts of heaven, because you're like, I don't care whether I fell from the skies. I want my blessings, Lord, because I cannot live the same way, And so this guy fighting with this angel, I think at Paran, the angel says one important thing, and this whole talk has been bringing me to this point. You have fought man and God, and now you get to get a new name, Israel. You have fought who? Man and God. Just because this guy was blessed does not mean he wasn't tested. For him to carry these generations of Israel, he had to be tested. He did not get it free, to a point where the brother is meeting him and is like, I'm so cool, my guy. You don't have to give me anything, because he had done that. So what I want to tell you with all this story is that you're coming to a place where there's no legality that will be used against you, right? So let me tell you, there's going to be war when you come to your breakthrough, yeah? But the Bible says that every tongue that rises against you, Isaiah 54, you will refute. How will you refute unless God shows you what legalities you've overcome? Yeah, so many accusations can rise against you. People will say, oh, they helped you, you didn't help them back. Yeah, people will say, oh no, this person is called this, his name, it means not blessed. Yeah, but because you've done this battle, you've done this journey, you fought both with man and with God. Even if this case is taken to the courtrooms of heaven, there's legality for you to be set free. If it is a jail you've been in all this time, there's legality for you to be set free. There's a place you're coming where you've done your thing, you've paid your debts, spiritually, physically. There's a place you're going to come to where you cannot even gossip. Nobody will take you down with that. Yeah, you already overcome that. You went through it, you went into it, you spoke your mind and all other things that you could do just to make yourself feel normal. You went through that. There's a place that's coming, you cannot fight with people because you're like, I don't even know what spirit I'm fighting. There's a place that's coming, you're going to look at people do you crazy things to you, and you're like, I forgive them, because you do not see a foe. You see an innocent person, you see a victim that is being controlled by crazy spirits from wherever, and you're like, I'm not I'm not engaging this demon. You will have risen so high above regular battles that you will not even lose sleep over this. But in the past, you've tussled. There were so many weapons that were formed against you. There was so much legality used against you. Like the devil would have a long list by which to capture you. And he wouldn't fear, he would go before God. Let me tell you, even when people are going against you in covenants, they have to use legality, whether it is your sin, whether it is your pride, whether it is your anger issues, whatever it is that they're using against you, they will find something. But you're coming to a place where you have fought so much, you have gone through the process so well, or even if you didn't think you did it well, you went through, and God was guiding you. And you will see for each level, there was a devil that you had to battle. So now you look at these things and you're like, that is common. Yeah, that happens to people. I have a whole, documentation. I have been through that, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. That is not just regular words. You've been through it, yeah? And so this angel tells Jacob, you have fought man and God. So now you get a new name, okay? So instead of the blessing, and I'm not saying instead like you didn't get the blessing. So what you're expecting me to pronounce is actually not the blessings are pa kawaida. I'm going to give you a new name. And with this new name, you become a nation, a royal priesthood, a peculiar people. In this family that I give you, in this one family, there's going to be Levites. There's going to be, people of all kind. Each tribe had their own blessings after their kind. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. You were spared from so much that could have taken you down, but now you get to be tested, and you have been tested. I know you have reached a place where you're like, hey, it was good that I was afflicted, so I may learn your decrees, So it's so funny. I'm still speaking, but I'm packing up because I'm done. Like I said when I was starting, I've had a day. I feel like my eyes are shutting. So thank you guys. It's been lovely sharing this with you. I hope I've delivered it in a way even one person will understand, because through knowledge shall they just escape. There's somebody right now trying to use some legality against you, and you'll have skipped that, yeah? He will be told by your angels, no, no, no. We don't play like that anymore. We don't do that here. Yeah, that's already done and dusted. That process you have gone through. And that is why you'll find so much favor. You're going to come into arrest when you're going to come to a place where it is well with you, no matter what hell is raised. You're like, I've been through that, I'm not doing this again. I've already done it, yeah? God has given you weapons of your own, so no weapon fashioned against you shall ever prosper, because you're going to be stronger than that, better than that, You're going to be a whole tribe. Who can come against you, right? So thank you guys. I'll see you tomorrow, God willing. Bye.